Welcome in, everyone, to Lively Lewis Stories.
That's right, we're back with even more awesome adventures with Levi and Ivy.
Set your storytime meter to fun and get ready to join the Lively Lewis crew.
All you need is your imagination and...
Off we go! I can't wait to see where our story takes us today.
Have you ever wanted to get more Lively Lewis in your life?
Well, we've got you covered.
Grab an adult and zoom over to livelylewisshop.com.
Or just click on the link in our show notes.
Enough about that. Let's get to today's super Lively Lewis story.
Levi was always happy and fun to be around. He was always ready with a joke to make a friend laugh and lift someone's spirits. He was encouraging and positive and always ready to lend a hand and see things from someone else's point of view before reacting to a situation. Then one day, something unusual happened. He was having a long week at summer camp, and when his friend Connor dropped him and Ivy off on Thursday afternoon, he felt, well, not himself. His attitude was sour, like a double cup of lemonade, but without the sugar. Hey friends, have you ever felt that way? I know I have. His smile was non-existent, and he just felt off. He wore a frown on his face that made him look like he didn't want to talk to anyone. And lucky for him, I guess walking around with such a negative expression on his face made anyone in his path walk the other way. Levi just seemed different. So different that when he walked in the front door, his dad quickly knew something was wrong. "Levi, buddy, how was camp?" asked his dad before looking up and seeing Levi's face. "Oh, wow, judging by your body language, I'm thinking it wasn't your best day." "My body language? What do you mean by that, Dad?" snapped Levi as he slammed the door behind him. "I haven't even said anything, so what language are you even talking about?" "Okay, Levi, first of all, apologize for the way you just spoke to me," said his dad. "I'm here to help you, and it's clear that you're having a bit of a hard day." "I'm sorry," said Levi quickly as he crossed his arms and the frown on his face grew bigger and bigger. "I'm not having a bit of a hard day. I'm having a lot of a bad week." As Levi's dad was trying to figure out how he was going to handle the situation as Ivy walked in. Well, actually, in skipped Ivy. She was singing a song quietly to herself with a huge smile on her face. It was clear to both Levi and his dad that she was not having a bad day. "Hello, everyone!" "Do-do-do-do," sang Ivy as she spun around the living room. "Wasn't today the best day at camp, Levi?" It was then that she stopped spinning and looked at her brother. It only took a second to realize that it definitely wasn't Levi's best day. "What's wrong, Levi? You look really, began Ivy before Levi interrupted her. "Mad? Well, I am," Levi shouted back. "Now, Levi, you know that's not how we talk to each other," said his dad. "Please apologize to Ivy." "Sorry," said Levi under his breath. Ivy could barely hear him, but she knew he meant it. She knew he wasn't mad at her, and as his sister, she just wanted to help him and figure out what was making him upset. Ivy's dad gave her a hug and asked her about her day. She filled him in, but didn't go into too many fun details because she didn't want to make Levi more upset. After all, she clearly had a great day, and Levi clearly didn't. "Well, I'm glad you had a great day," said Ivy's dad. "I have to talk to Levi now, so why don't you go into the kitchen and grab a snack?" "Actually, would you mind if I stayed, Levi?" Ivy asked her brother. "I'd really like to help if I can." Levi just nodded his head and Ivy took a seat next to him on the couch. "Levi, we both want to help you work through these emotions you're having right now," said Levi's dad. "Would you like to tell us what's making you so upset? Talking out a problem always makes me feel better and often helps me solve it." "I guess," said Levi. "But it's just one bad thing after the other." He started by telling Ivy and his dad about what had happened at the baseball game he played earlier in the week. He really had his heart set on pitching, and his camp counselor was coaching that day and promised him he could pitch. But when Levi and his friends got to the field, another counselor was coaching and already had a few of his own pitchers lined up. That made Levi upset, but it was only one little thing, so he moved on pretty quickly. Or at least that's what he thought. His mood did affect his game. Levi really wasn't into that game after being told he couldn't pitch, and that put him in a bit of a bad mood. The bad mood made it hard for him to concentrate, which caused him to not play very well on the field and probably didn't help his hitting either. He struck out twice. The next day, that bad mood carried over, maybe because Levi didn't talk about what was bothering him. He started his day out with a bit of a frown, thinking of the day before and how he didn't get to pitch at the baseball game. It was a rainy day at camp, which you may think would make any camper upset, but not exactly. Levi was excited for a quiet camp day and was ready to play air hockey with his friends in the main hall. However, when they got there, they were met with a big sign on the air hockey table that said, "Out of order. Sorry." As he read the sign, Levi could feel his face turn red. He clenched his teeth tight and stomped away from the table. His friends called after him because they wanted to play a board game instead, but Levi just sat in the corner and pouted. He looked so angry, in fact, that none of his friends even tried to go over and ask him to play again. They just wanted to leave him alone. The next day, you guessed it, that bad mood showed up to camp with Levi again. That day, his frown was much bigger than the day before, and it was obvious to everyone he was unhappy. Levi wasn't feeling very positive as he kept thinking his week was just going to keep getting worse. And unfortunately, he was right. That day, Levi's group was in charge of picking afternoon snack for the whole camp, which does sound pretty great. I mean, who could be mad at snack time? So that made Levi think things were finally looking up. The choices for snack were s'mores or candy pudding. Levi loved candy pudding. That was when the kids could pick any candy they wanted to go in their chocolate or vanilla pudding. So before voting started, Levi asked his friend Connor and Al to please vote for candy pudding. The counselors gathered all the kids from Levi's group in the main hall and got to voting. "Raise your hand if you'd like candy pudding for a snack," called out one of the counselors as another counted the hands that were in the air. Levi raised his hand super high alongside his friend Connor, and they gave their vote for candy pudding. His friend Al, however, at the very last minute didn't raise his hand. Levi was shocked and could feel his face starting to get red again. He was getting mad. "What is going on?" he thought to himself. Al whispered that he was sorry to Levi and then raised his hand for s'mores. So after the counselors totaled up the votes, s'mores won by just one vote. Levi was stunned, disappointed, and really upset. However, this time he was more upset than he had ever been before. The week was just getting worse, and he couldn't take it anymore. He turned to his friend Al and did something he had never done before. He yelled at him. "Al, what did you just do?" exclaimed Levi. "You promised me you'd vote for candy pudding." "I am sorry, Levi. I didn't know it would make you that mad," said Al, backing away from Levi because he was getting so loud. Levi got so loud, in fact, that his camp counselor walked over and had to take Levi away from the group to try and calm him down. Levi ended up spending the rest of the day playing by himself. He was so upset, in fact, that he didn't even eat his s'mores and instead just kept to himself until it was time to leave. Levi's counselor even had to give him a note for his parents to sign saying that he yelled at another camper that day and that really didn't make him feel good. He'd never had a note sent home about his behavior before. "Levi, I'm really sorry," said Ivy when Levi was done talking. "I didn't know you were so upset at camp this week." And that was likely because Ivy was in another camp group and participating in a bunch of other activities over the last few days. She did notice, however, that Levi wasn't eating his s'mores at snack time, but just thought maybe he was full from lunch. "So, that's why I'm mad," said Levi. It did feel good to talk about what had happened that week, but Levi still didn't feel happy again. Ivy and her dad were glad that Levi shared how he was feeling and got to work trying to figure out the best way to get him back to his normal happy self. "Levi, it is okay to be upset sometimes," said his dad. "It's okay to be mad and disappointed, but the way we choose to deal with those emotions is very important. I'll sign that note from your counselor, but you have to promise me that we can work together to help you find a better way to express yourself when you're mad." Levi nodded his head at his dad. Then he felt his face get hot, like it had before when the air hockey table was broken. He knew it was getting red too, but then he felt a tear run down his cheek. He wasn't just mad then. He was frustrated, and he knew he needed help to work through these emotions. Levi felt bad about the way he had acted at camp, the last few days, and he knew he wanted to apologize to Al, his other friends, and the camp counselor. But first, Levi had to figure out a good strategy for dealing with these mad emotions when they pop up, and that's when Ivy stepped in. She had experience working through emotions and had something she thought would really help Levi. "Hey, Daddy, do you think Levi and I could talk alone for a bit?" asked Ivy. "I think I might have something that can help Levi with his emotions." "That sounds good to me," said Levi and Ivy's dad. "How about I go make you both a little snack while you talk?" Ivy nodded and smiled, and Levi gave a thumbs up. He was still feeling down, but was really hopeful that whatever Ivy was going to show him would work. "So, Ivy, what are you thinking will help me deal with my emotions when someone makes me angry?" asked Levi as he looked at his sister. "Hold on, I'll be right back," said Ivy with a smile as she twirled out the living room and right up the stairs to her room. Levi waited somewhat impatiently because he was still feeling a little bit mad about everything that had happened to him that week. He really hoped whatever Ivy had planned would work, but not knowing for sure if it would, it wasn't helping his mood. "Here we go, Levi," called out Ivy as she ran back down the stairs from her room. "This will help you out for sure." Ivy stood in front of her brother holding an antique mirror that her grandmother had given her about a year before. "A mirror?" asked Levi, sounding a bit annoyed. "What am I supposed to do with that?" "It's for self-reflection," answered Ivy. "Self what?" asked Levi. "That's exactly what I said to Mom when she told me about self-reflection when I was sad and having a rough week at school," said Ivy, looking into the mirror. "This mirror really, really helped me work through those emotions. And now I have this as a tool to help when I'm feeling sad. I always know I have you and Mom and Dad to talk to, but sometimes I like to try and work things out by myself. It's a really good feeling to control your emotions and not let them control you." "That all sounds great, Ivy, but what is self-reflection?" asked Levi again, still not totally convinced that the old mirror would help him. "First off, it's a great way to work through feelings, sad, mad, or frustrated," began Ivy. "Mom told me self-reflection means to look at things that have happened that are causing you to feel the way you do and learn from them. Like asking, what could you have done differently to change the outcome? Or would it have helped to look at the situation from another person's point of view?" "Okay, so how does the mirror fit into all of this?" asked Levi, sounding a little more interested in what Ivy had to say. And that was the best part of the whole self-reflection journey, because the mirror Ivy held in her hands was magic. "It's magic! The mirror is magic!" exclaimed Ivy. "It will show you your true emotions reflected to you as a color, and then you can watch as the things you do either make that color get brighter or help it to fade away, bringing you back to your usual happy, positive self." "Magic?" whispered Levi. Now this is the kind of thing he was interested in. He and Ivy ran out to the treehouse and got ready to conquer those angry emotions. Levi made himself comfortable on a beanbag chair and took the mirror from Ivy. He looked at his reflection in it and nothing happened. "Great, another thing to be mad about," grumbled Levi. Then as he went to hand the mirror back to Ivy, he saw something. Something red. And that red thing was him. "My face! It's red!" shouted Levi, almost dropping Ivy's mirror. She did her best to calm her brother down, telling him that the color change was part of the process and explaining to him what was happening. "Levi, calm down. Your face looks like a bright red tomato when you looked in the mirror because there's a saying people use when they feel angry or mad. They say they're seeing red," explained Ivy. "Yup, I'm definitely seeing red. Now, Ivy, how do I stop it?" shouted Levi, sounding a little scared. "Ivy, I don't like this. I want to change it back right now." Ivy could tell that Levi was getting mad as he held up the mirror and looked like he was going to throw it. But if he did that and the mirror broke, he may be the color of a tomato forever. And even worse, he may never learn how to deal with his angry emotions. Ivy knew she had to act fast to save the mirror and help Levi. Hey friends, this is the end of part 1. Stay tuned soon for part 2. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed the story and learned a little something too.
And since we know everyone has their own story, we'd love to hear yours.
If you have an idea for a Lively Lewis story, leave a comment on our Apple Podcast review page with 5 stars, your idea, and your little one's name.
Then maybe our next adventure will be with you.
Until our next Storytime Hangout.
Thanks for listening. We can't wait to share another fun, lively Lewis story with you.